Here's something that I think will work very well for you is a band to aid getting that scap into a depressed position. We can also place a band on a rack, but if you want to do this in your living room, place that around the foot. Here's a rotator cuff insertion opening drill with the lacrosse ball there, so we can trap ourselves into that external rotated position with that lacrosse ball right on the insertion, and we can kind of pull into that dumbbell and rock back and forth, and kind of slide those rotator cuffs underneath that ball. Here we can do some contract relax, pushing down into that dumbbell, and we can also aid and push down into that ball while we're sitting there and trapping ourselves into external rotation and going back and forth and just kind of hunt around there to find some trigger points. And then the best thing is to oscillate and go into more external rotation and go back and forth. So here's that subscap release drill. We can actively engage that subscap by using a band, place it right on the subscap, and then peel that away. This is a very effective way to administer self-ART. So while holding a dowel, we place a band just above the elbow to keep our elbows in a more midline position, and we try and creep out onto that bar to hold or get into an in-range external rotation of the shoulder as we dip our head down to the ground to achieve in-range flexion of the shoulder, and just rock back and forth and open yourself up. So here's that cervical retraction that I'm talking about. So we place that just below the occipital, walked it out to about a 45-degree angle, and we sit there and just do some head rocks, just back and forth, nice and easy. And then we can grab that band and just add just a little bit more tension, a little bit more stability, and it feels a little bit nice to kind of aid with that rock, with the band. And just sit here for about 3 to 5 minutes. Here's a very effective mulligan wrist opener. And so as we're sliding back and forth, pinning that hand to the ground, going through in-range wrist extension, what that band does is slides the wrist out of the way to avoid any sort of impingement. And as we go back and forth, we can start externally rotating the shoulder and spinning the ulna and radius inside that wrist. And this just opens up all the joints of the wrist. Here's a very easy wrist opener. This is also a mulligan drill. As we throttle the bar and get to in-range extension, we have a band double looped around the foot, and we can actually, as we go through that extension, we can place a little bit more pressure there, and this really gets our wrist ready for load.